Did you see that post?
People are talking.
Here's what's trending on the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
Hey, Rickey Smiley, how are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I am well. How you doing?
I'm so excited to have you on. Hey, by the way, side note, I just hosted the 69th Boulay for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
No kidding. Oh, you're going to live a long life.
That's right. Dr. Glover was not having it. She said, you are hosting. I said, yes, ma'am. No problem.
Yeah, no, yes. One should never say no to Dr. Glover.
I know that's right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so excited to have you on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
Thank you. It's good to be back with you, Rickey Smiley.
I'm glad to have you. Now, when you and President Biden won in November, it shook some historically red states to the core. And because of that, at least 24 states have passed laws this year that restrict access to the ballot box. You know, what do we need to do to slow down this trend?
I'm so glad you brought that up. Well, first, let me say thank you to all your listeners, because folks stood in line, folks mailed in their ballots, put them in drop boxes, and it's because people voted that we were able to win. And what did folks get for voting? Well, they got $1,400 checks. What did folks get for voting? We got the child tax cut, which means that we are going to help lift half of America's children out of poverty, half of America's black children out of poverty. What did folks get for voting? We now have put $2.6 billion with a B dollars into our HBCUs. That's what folks got for putting the time in to planning to vote, registering to vote, and actually voting. So, Rickey, here's what I'll say. There are states all over our country that are trying to make it more difficult for people to vote because they saw what folks did the last time.
Right.
So now they're trying to make it more difficult for people to vote with the expectation that we won't vote. And as far as I'm concerned, stand up for your rights when people are trying to take them from you. And that's why right now I want to ask all your listeners, pay attention to what they're trying to do, and let's push back against it. Let's make sure that we are equipped with the knowledge of what is still the John Lewis fight, which is to maintain and fight for our right to vote, because there is so much at stake. And when we vote that and use that right, we unlock all the other rights, such as what we just talked about, the kinds of things that are about helping working families. It's dealing with what we need to do around reform and racial justice and social justice and equality. All that's at stake.
Right. Now, in Georgia, you know, which has become the epicenter of the fight, groups have filed 9 lawsuits over legislation that was passed in late March. Can these laws be overturned before the crucial upcoming Senate race?
Well, we're counting on, but you know, we have to wage this fight to protect our right to vote on every level. So it's going to be about litigation in the courts. It's going to be about pushing back against the legislation, like in Texas they're trying to do right now. I just met with the Texas legislature, pushing back against what they're trying to do. I mean, in Texas, they were trying to mess with souls to the polls.
Wow.
Right, and Sunday voting. And it's going to be about making sure and starting early that everyone is registered to vote, that people are organizing around giving people information about where they're registered to vote. We got to build the coalition. You know, recently I convened a bunch of disability rights advocates, you know, for everything from the, you know, in wheelchairs to our elderly, and making sure that we're advocating for their right to not have to stand in line for hours to vote, and for their right to be able to vote by mail. You know, I think about this, you know, of folks who are working 2 and 3 jobs. 24-hour voting was helpful to them to be able to vote around their schedule. Well, there are legislators trying to take that away. People who are have disabilities or are homebound, their right to vote by mail. Well, people are trying to take that away. You know, a single parent, a father or mother who got 3 kids in the back seat and was able to vote by dropping his or her ballot in a drop box. Well, they're trying to take that away.
Right.
So let's educate folks and just remind us we can never take for granted any of the gains we've made in this fight for equality, for civil rights, and for justice. And right now, in many places in our country, these rights are under attack.
Right.
And we will not stand for it because we know what we get when we vote. We reduce child poverty in America. We put money into our HBCUs. We address the inequities that exist. It is because we voted last time that we're getting these things. Those $1,400 checks, if that election had turned out differently, I am positive that the kind of progress we've made would not have happened.
That part. So what was the outcome of your meeting with the Texas Democrats who fled to D.C. trying to stop the GOP legislation from passing in their state?
Well, it was first I wanted to thank them for their courage because, look, those folks, they stood up and they walked, they voted with their feet. They had the courage to leave Texas and come to D.C. knowing that it would be at risk to themselves, in particular, and in terms of their personal and political risks they took. But they did it, and they awakened a lot of people around the issue because of the courage of their conviction. So I started by thanking them because they're not only leaders in Texas on this issue of voting rights, they're national leaders, and we should applaud what they've done. And then we want to encourage them to continue to use their voices in a way that raises awareness about what's at stake and what's happening. Because, everyone's busy. It's summertime, and folks want to focus on other things. But these legislators in various states are literally quietly attempting to take away our rights, and we cannot let that happen.
Right. Thank you so much for taking the time, to join us this morning. And we always love to hear from you. You can call us anytime. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all give it up for the Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rickey, Smiley. You take care of yourself. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.